So just raise your hand if you have a question, and I will call on you.
You still need the 1 o'clock warning?
No, I'm good. I have a clock here. Thanks. No one?
I know that, like, when people start turning books into movies, they either sort of bastardize the storyline or they kind of take some creative liberties with them. Do you have, are you more excited about people turning your books into movies or into film series, or a little less excited because you have, you have your way of having told the story and you kind of don't want to see that changed around too much?
I think there's a little bit of both. I mean, if Hollywood calls, you do not say no. I mean, you just don't, unless you're completely independently wealthy. And then you might maybe say no, but then still, it's like, why not? I would love to see what people would do. Whether or not, I put my personal stamp of approval on it, might be one way or another. I mean, I'm not going to get really, 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 really angry about it, regardless. But so there's a bit of trepidation, but at the same time, so much excitement for just being able to see something realized. Because I think very cinematically when I write. My books are pretty atmospheric because I'm really writing down the movie in my head. So I'd really love to see the movie in my head and see how it's different from the movie that's on the screen. And if they want to pay me for that, that's awesome.
I think it's really up and down, movie stuff. Like, it's a roller coaster. They've approached me with a couple different things that didn't work out or haven't worked out. One thing that they said was, we've approached Steve Close to see if he will write a screenplay, and I said, oh my god. And I was like, just like, my life is like perfect, la 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 la, and then he's like, I'm not doing anything like that ever again. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. And then they said, hey, we've got a great idea. How about Jaden Smith as Henry Grimm? And like, they're like, Jaden loves it. And I'm like, oh, wow. Oh my god, I didn't think there was a casting choice that would bother me more than like Justin Bieber. I don't know. I mean, it just wasn't what was in my head. And I always thought that like composite characters or having the plot be something different. But I think I'm okay with whatever they do because I'll be flattered. I am moving out to Hollywood and starting to work in the industry. And so I feel like I do want to be included in what's going on because I see it as a marketable concept that I've created as opposed to I'm the author and you guys do your Hollywood thing. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully not Jada. I mean,
In the back.
I actually have a question that follows up with what we were just talking about. If you did get a movie deal and hypothetically they wanted you involved in the casting, do you guys have like any ideas of like your ideal?
Fantasy casting is always fun.
I get this question a lot, and anyone who knows me knows my answer. I have sort of two answers for this, because there's the answer 10 years ago when I started writing the book, and then there's the answer now. So the answer 10 years ago for Alexi was Alan Rickman, of course. But the answer now is Richard Armitage, who is also quite wonderful and who's a British actor who, if you've followed the BBC, he's done a lot of stuff there. So he's basically anybody who's really, can be really, really brooding and stormy and all gothic hero thing, and then be sweet when he has to be. So, and then as far as for women in the casting, I mean, I kind of had this envision that my guard would just be populated by these famous British actors. I was like, I want David Tennant, and I want Emma Thompson, and all these people, and I'm realizing it's not quite matching up. It's like, Kate Winslet could be in there too, and then, so honestly, at this point, there's so many people wonderful that are out there. Oh, Michael Sheen, yeah. And as far as Percy, I get sort of a little flabbergasted because I don't know. I mean, as an actress, I think I was always sort of like playing the role myself. But then I would rather it be somebody that nobody knows. I would rather be like an ingenue that's just sort of come out of nowhere that has kind of an eerie look about her. Obviously, they'd have to do a lot of effects to her. But I would kind of like it to be an unknown.
like realistically, I'm so not shy about this. I'm just like, I just want Tommy Knight to play Henry Grimm. I know he's available. Like I've honestly been this close to like just actually going for that. 'Cause I don't know, until we have a script properly, like very tentative what would happen. But Tommy Knight has always been in my head like the perfect casting choice. Oh, he's from the Sarah Jane Adventures. So he was like my top choice. And of course, like fantasy casting, I've always said like, oh, Neil Patrick Harris as Sir Frederick. Which is just, like, he would just be perfectly eerie and just wonderful and sweet, and I would love that. And I was like, oh, like Alan Tudyk as Headmaster Witcher.
Awesome.
Yeah, so this is like in my mind, and I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not being super unrealistic here. I mean, if it did happen, that would be cool. I don't know. I mean, it's a hard question. I just think my one answer has always been not Justin Bieber, and then after a while I switched to not Jaden Smith. Just like, no offense to him, but he's a little younger than, I mean, if they waited a couple years, I think he was like 12 when they were suggesting it, and then like Henry's like 15, and British, and nerdy.
I've also been, you know, with the whole musical thing, my agent has been saying that he's both approaching, you know, film studios with the idea of, you know, of the film as just a straight film, or if the musical does go forward and does well, then it could be a film of the musical. So in that case, Hugh Jackman all the way. I'm just saying.
Any other questions?
On the topic of storytelling, or just like the art of storytelling, there are a lot of different schools of thought on how you create conflict, or like what's the best way to create conflict, or is it going to be driven by the character development, or is it going to be driven by situations? What are your thoughts on this?
I think it has to be all of them, and I think the most rich stories are where the conflict is coming from all angles. There can be one main conflict, but then it's better almost if there's secondary, tertiary levels of conflict as you go, because you might solve one of those conflicts. You need some more in there. So for me, the Victorian era itself is one of the reasons why I set things there, is rife with conflict in and of itself. If you're a female, if you are in any way not normative at all. So for that right there, that's sort of a conflict. And then you throw in things like barriers between these people cannot be together, any of those various things that are also, you have mystical elements, huge lots of paranormal things that are thrown in there too. I love supernatural. That's one thing that I love about fantasy and paranormal things, is that there's wonderful, amazing ways to create conflict that is not an everyday thing that you would encounter, in addition to the everyday thing. I have everyday people in fantastical situations, so not only do my Ghostbusters have their day jobs, but they also have to, like, you know, exist in Victorian society with that constraints, plus this prophecy that they're trying to find, plus trying to stay alive, plus, you know, just kind of getting through the day and making sure that their houses don't burn down. So I think for me, there's not necessarily one way to do it. There has to be ways in which they all interconnect. And I'm very, very character driven. So a lot of times conflicts will come from the character. I'm character and setting driven. I'm kind of a disaster for structure, like plot structure. All of my editors, bless them, they're always like, honey, we just need to rearrange things a little bit. We're just gonna move this one over here, and that's okay. Everything's fine. They're just in the wrong order. And sometimes that's because I write completely non-linearly. I cannot write from one chapter to the next to save my life. If you talk to me about like the writers that have like spreadsheets for stuff, that gives me hives. I just can't. No, I have a notebook full of scribbles. I'm completely nonlinear. I write chapter 1, chapter 5, chapter 23, then go back to chapter 2, maybe, and all of that. And so for the most part, somehow structure ends up happening. I just always need a little bit of guidance. I'm getting a little better about it, but my editors are like, okay, we're at the rearranging part. So the character and setting are the two places for me where I find my conflict. And then sort of go on from there.
Like a non-linear.
Yeah, linear. Yes.
Yeah, my characters are massively, I think, in conflict with the setting. That's something that I always do. I always think, what is a place that I would like to write about? What is like the most interesting things, and who would be the most interesting people in that setting? And then I just put it all massively into conflict. People who want to go somewhere where they're told they shouldn't. Want to be something that they're not allowed to be. People, you know, it's just, it's always been sort of how I write. And also it's difficult without magic, which is, I love the challenge. I love that I can never pull, you know, this sort of Godric Gryffindor out of the lake, and you know, like that's never going to happen. My characters, if they want to fight a big bad evil practically as 15-year-old schoolboys, like, they don't have magic powers, they don't have magic weapons, they don't have magic creatures. They have themselves and their school books and their smarts, and that's how they'll solve everything. And that's always just been a challenge that I've loved having. But yeah, I write really, like, I sit down and I start at chapter 1 and I start going, and I go until I reach the end, and if I hit a snag, I don't keep going, I go backward, because I'm just so heavily, like, character development in what I write that I won't know a character's mindset going into a scene 2 chapters later if I don't know where they are and their relationships in the chapter I'm in now. So, like, I've actually had to stop and go back, and so I turn in these ridiculously clean manuscripts, and it's a game that I had with my editor. I think we were running late, but we only had 8 days to edit the secret prints, and we were nervous. We're like, the book might have to be pushed back. We have 8 days, and she got the manuscript and she called me and she said, "Stop kidding." And I said, "Well, what's wrong? Like, I know there's Mangala in a kid's book, and the villain is like Doctor Who, and you know." And she's like, "No, it's really clean. I have line edits, and I have one kind of small change that I'm going to the central conflict, but other than that," and I'm like, "Oh, thank God," you know, because I self-edit like insanely, and every free second of the day that I'm not writing, I am editing over, and every time I sit down to start writing, I start reading at chapter 1, page 1. And go through and line edit and get the tone down until I get to where I am, even if I'm 400 pages in, just so that yeah, you're like, oh my, it's the same way I squirm when she's like, "I'll write chapter 5 and then chapter 23. I think we've all got our own insane ways to make it work.
That's the beautiful thing about writing, is that no one can tell you the one way. That's a process. Everyone has an extremely intimate process. What you have to do is make your process work for you, and then you also have to make it work for your editor too, because you're not just, you know, you're not just going at it on your own completely. So you also need to make sure that you're figuring out your process that's both manageable for yourself and also professionally.
Yeah, it's fun. Like, my editor, I lie. I didn't tell her that I wrote the entire thing in, like, cafes in East London with my headphones cranked up at full volume with the, like, soundtrack to Spring Awakening on repeat. I don't think she really would have appreciated that. So I was like, "Oh yes, you know, I sit at my writing desk made out of the finest mahogany." And, you know.
How can you write with lyrics? How can you write with words and music? Like, I cannot at all. I can't.
Blasting. I wrote Card of
Blows my
Night 2
mind.
in a room at VidCon with people jumping on the bed and like taking nipple tassels out and going like, "Woo, nipple tassels!" There's actually this phenomenal thing that happened. So I have this character, well, these characters called Adam and Rohan, and then I was at this conference. And
Where are you going with this?
No, it's a good place. Trust me, I've said it in like middle schools. It's fine. I have these characters called Adam and Rowan. I have these friends, also called Adam and Rowan, who wound up as roommates at this conference. I'm on book deadline, and I'm sitting there writing with my headphones in, like, and everyone's goofing around because it's con. Somebody, you know, like some tassels, and you know, and Adam is like,
Normal
"Rowan."
con material.
Right. Rowan put on these nipple tassels, and Rowan's like, "No, Adam, I will not put them on. You put them on." And I'm sitting there writing, you know, "We're all going to die in a war," said Rohan, "unless," and then I actually wrote, "You will put these things."
You said this to middle school.
I did, because it just, I can write anywhere, and it's terrifying, except that's like the pivotal scene of seriousness in the book, where like, you know, and every time I get to it, I crack up, and I'm like,